the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
More of these kind of like just crazy changes to the roster when these coaches come over, and people do a lot of thinking on just how the coach is going to work there. But my question to you, Will, when you look at what happened this cycle, what's your favorite, and favorite maybe with an S here, new coach plus new roster combination that they brought along with them for 2024-2025?
Yeah, I think up front you want to mention, like, this isn't just like we're not ranking the best coach. This is who put together the roster that makes the most sense with what I know about this coach's history. So number one on my list, honestly by a pretty sizable margin for 2024-25, is Pat Kelsey and the Louisville Cardinals. I love what these guys did. Now, it would be hard for them to be worse. You could reasonably put a toddler in charge and get about the same results as they did the last two seasons. So, which I gather that is actually what they did. So, you live and you learn. Having an adult in charge is probably pretty good for them. But I mean, jokes aside, this is an old roster. That's, when we talk about like how the portal works with some teams these days, like I'm going to get to SMU in a little while because I want to chat about them as sort of the downside of this, where you're aiming to be old instantly, but the level of old and the level of talent you get doesn't really do much different from what you're used to, and you're already in a difficult situation. For Louisville, just being competent that's like something you can get around, get happy about. Like, do I think Louisville's going to be an 8 seed or what? Well, what were they Chris Mack's first year? 7 seed, 7 or 8?
I think that's right.
Yeah, 7 or I don't think they're going to be that, but are they going to be competent, interesting, tough to beat again? Like, is the Yum brand center sponsored by, like, was it Taco Bell, KFC? Is that it?
It was a KFC Yum
Brands.
Center. Is it not KFC Yum Center anymore?
Oh, it's the KFC. I thought it was the Yum Center alone. I didn't realize it was KFC.
I think it's KFC Yum Center because when you go to KFC, you go Yum.
I know. I've been saying that for 20 years. But no, I love what they did. So at point, you got Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin. Bit of a chaotic figure at times, but I think in a role where he can push the pace and like really let loose, because he is quite the character on offense. This is a really good fit for him. Terrence Edwards from James Madison, I loved last year. I'm really excited to see what he does there. Javon Hadley is like the perfect glue guy for literally any team trying to be good. Turned into a really good shooter, good free throw maker, very good defensively. Noah Waterman, I like a lot. And Rain Smith from Charleston is probably the one that is going to get a real sizable who's that guy bump this year. Because one, he knows the Kelsey system better than anybody who's going to play on that roster coming from Charleston. And two, he's one of the best shooters in America. Like, I don't know how many people know this. He made 111 threes last year. And that was after starting off dead cold from the field. So if he shoots like 40% on high volume again this season, that's a scary, scary piece for, opponents to defend. And he held it up pretty well when they played top end competition. He's not like a number one option, but like a solid number 3 or number 4 on the court, like good, catch and shoot guy. I just like everything Kelsey did with the roster makes sense. Like, you don't have an overload at one position. You've got Hepburn at point. Smith probably is backup point if needed. You've got Corin Johnson coming over from Washington who can do some point handling duties too. Several wings, guard types. You've got a pretty solid front court that's not overloaded with playable talent, but has enough to survive. It's a thing where, like, would I say right now that I think Louisville is going to make the NCAA tournament? I don't know if I could go that far, but do I think that they're going to have a really good shot to do it? Yeah, I feel pretty good about saying that.
It's going to be so interesting because I think one of the things that has to happen in Louisville is one of those rare jobs, I think, in the sport where expectations can be outrageous. And I understand that there is going to be some part of the fan base, and I'm curious which one this actually ends up being. We should get Mike Rutherford on here to parse this through, because I think they've seen the best Louisville basketball. They have a coaching change at the exact same time Kentucky does. Their arch nemesis. So Pope and Kelsey are going to be compared to each other for the foreseeable future, no matter what. But I also just look at this and I go, okay, I think Pat Kelsey is a good coach. I think he'll be solid. I think he's a high floor guy at Louisville. I don't know if he's the highest ceiling guy they could have gotten. I don't know if he's going to be someone who wins a national title. Like if I look at my crystal ball, like Pat Kelsey wins a title at Louisville, I think that might, but it's hard to win a national title. Hurley makes it look easy at UConn, but it turns out, folks, it's actually a little more difficult to win national titles in the sport. But I just think it's fair for the fan base, even after the disaster of the last 2 years at Louisville with Kenny Payne, to be like, no, we need you to be really good again, really quickly. Like we're actually not going to be okay with missing the tournament. And that's a big issue if you don't make the tournament this year, because I think it's one of those, you don't want to fall too far from the national spotlight for too long at Louisville. You want to be able to bounce back and say, we had this weird blip. We took a big swing on Kenny Payne. It's weird that it didn't work out for a multitude of reasons, this, that, and the other. But like, we're still Louisville. We're still a top 10 program in the country. We're back. And I think that's one of those, the longer it goes, you start to feel more like Indiana. Like, and you don't want to fall in the Indiana zone where it's just, you're like, oh, I heard you were good. I remember Tom Coverdale. He was a pretty good player. And then you look at the years and you're like, that was a long time ago. Tom Coverdale is not, Jared Jeffries is not walking through that door here. And I don't think you want to be that at Louisville. So I just think Kelsey really needs to hit for them, because I don't think this program, it's going to be good for them to walk through the wilderness for 5 to 7 years with just the uncertainty with the ACC conference as a whole and just where they are. I think Louisville there's actually a sneaky amount of Pat Kelsey pressure to be really good really soon. I'm not saying he has to win the ACC right away, but I think they actually do need to be pretty good and show that this is gonna work earlier rather than later. Is that fair?
I think a good baseline for them year one for success, I feel, and it is a little crazy to say this when you have literally 0 returning minutes.
Yeah.
If you can finish 500 or better in the ACC, I think that's a really good step in the right direction. And it's not like it's the hardest. It really isn't the hardest conference in the world. Yeah. It's no Big 12. It's no SEC. But it's good. Like it's a good basketball conference. You finish 500 or better, and I think you got to pluck off like one impressive win in non-conference. Yeah. I'm not immediately aware of what it is their like big neutral site tournament is. I didn't bother to check, but I do know they play Tennessee at home, Kentucky on the road, Ole Miss at home. I think you got to get one of those. If you can get one of those, you can really restore it like pretty quickly. I think like you can get fans excited, especially if it's one of those home games. Double, especially if it's Kentucky and you're one of their new coach too.
Oh, if you beat Kentucky, like a lot of just you're gonna
you'll
have a lot
be
of
worried about you anymore.
Yes.
Runner up for this that I thought strongly about moving ahead, but decided against. And it is a special circumstance. David Riley in Washington State.
Oh, this is right in your bag, Will.
Well, I just feel like people forgot about this happening, which is fair because they did.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.